In this video, we will dive into the remarkably horrid life of a promising young French socialite whose mother locked her up because she fell in love with a poor lawyer. Let's bring back Blanche Monnier to life, shall we? And welcome to Mortal Faces. If you're new to my channel, this is the type of stuff that we do here. Subscribe for more videos. Let me know in the comments who you want to see next. Life for Blanche Monnier started rather normally. In fact, one could say she was lucky, as she was born into the haute bourgeoisie of 19th century Poitiers France. What it means for Blanche was that she wouldn't need to worry about money or trouble herself with work like her less fortunate peers pertaining to lower classes. All she had to do is attend social events, look pretty, and find a worthy husband. Yes, life was indeed good when you belonged to an affluent, revered family of old noble origins. Mademoiselle Monnier was probably not much different than any other girl her age. One could imagine her dreaming of love, marriage, family, and having a home of her own. We know she enjoyed playing the piano and was quite good at it. All in all, there was nothing particularly exceptional about Mademoiselle Monnier's young life. Had it remained so, history would have forgotten about her, as it had forgotten about many other idealistic young girls, full of hope and secret wishes of happiness, and it would have been better for Blanche had she been given the chance to live out her small, ordinary, perhaps unremarkable life, sometimes happy and sometimes less so. The turnabout, however, Blanche made a misstep on the road to generic marital bliss, which proved fatal. Instead of choosing amongst many of the respectable suitors that flocked around her, as she was a renowned beauty and well-off too, she fell in love with a lawyer who was not considered her social equal, as he was poor. That did not concern Blanche in the least, but her mother had a distinctly different idea of her ideal son-in-law, and it most definitely was not a penniless lawyer. It seems that Blanche was more than reluctant on giving up the thought of marrying the man she loved. In fact, she wouldn't desist. She upfront confronted her mother and refused to abandon her hope of marriage for love rather than status. Madame Monnier, on the other hand, was not one to take obstinacy and rebellion lightly. She took it not only as a personal offense, but as a potential smear on her family's honor, and she couldn't allow that for the world. Imprisonment. Enraged at the point of madness by her daughter's defiance, Madame Monnier did not shy away from taking drastic measures. The goal, after all, justifies the means, does it not? She decided that the best solution was to lock her daughter in a tiny room in the attic, chaining her to the bed, presumably with the help of her son Marcel. It is less likely that a middle-aged woman could overpower a healthy 25-year-old by herself, so there's little room for doubt that Blanche's brother helped with the execution of the heinous deed. Even if Marcel didn't help with the initial act of imprisonment itself, he did keep it a secret for the next 26 years. You heard that right. 26 long years of Blanche's life have passed in the confines of a cramped, stuffy, filthy, tiny room. How did they manage to keep that gruesome secret hidden for so long without raising suspicion, without anyone asking questions about Blanche's whereabouts? She couldn't have just disappeared into thin air without a soul noticing, or at least wondering what happened to the beautiful Poitiers socialite. But people often choose not to see the obvious and not to ask questions if the answers might appall them. Blanche's mother and brother seemingly grieved at her disappearance at first, giving their best to hold up the pretense of a doting family, worried sick about the well-being of their daughter and sister. After a while, with a heavy heart, no doubt they carried off with their lives as if nothing had happened. It seemed that everyone had forgotten about Blanche, especially after the lawyer she had loved died 10 years into her disappearance. With his passing, there was not a soul left to miss her. The years dragged on. No one wondered anymore, no one cared. It was as if Blanche Monnier never existed. The discovery. But exist she did, for 26 bitter years, stuck in her miniature prison. One could not say she lived, for it was not a life that Blanche has spent up in that soiled attic, shackled to the bed. And then, one day in 1901, the Paris Attorney General received an anonymous letter, whose sender remained unknown to this day. The author of the letter was quite concise, yet left no room for misinterpretation. It said, "I have the honor to inform you of an exceptionally serious occurrence. I speak of a spinster who is locked up in Madame Monnier's house, half-starved and living in a putrid litter for the past 25 years, in her own filth. As the accusations were so appalling, police forces barged into Monnier's home immediately after having received the tip, and there they were, met with a sight that would remain ingrained in their minds for the rest of their days. Drawing of Blanche's discovery published in Illustré Joignier Extrapat 9 Octobre 1907, the caption reads, "The living skeleton of Poitiers." In a bed filthy beyond wildest imagination lay Blanche Monnier, now 51, completely naked, enshrouded in long dirty hair that had not been cut or washed for 2.5 decades. She was confined to the bed, covered in food remains, bugs, and her old excrement. She was not allowed to use the toilet, emaciated due to a diet of meager scraps, weighing a mere 25 kilograms, and completely insane. The policeman who found her couldn't stand to be in the room for long, as the air was stale and filled with the odor of putrid food and human waste. The aftermath. Blanche's mother died 15 days later, not surviving long enough to be charged with her unspeakable crime. She did, however, live to see an angry mob gather in front of her house, as the people of Poitiers were nothing short of outraged when all the horror detailed of Blanche's imprisonment came out. Her brother Marcel was convicted at first, but was acquitted on appeal, with the reasoning that he was not legally obliged to rescue his sister from the danger of death or injury, according to the French Penal Code. In addition, he was considered mentally incompetent, as the judges probably had issues coming to terms with the idea of how can a sane and normal man simply allow his mother to do something like this for 26 years. As for Blanche, she never recovered. The trauma she underwent was too serious to overcome. She was broken beyond repair, and it's no wonder. Staying sane in the condition she was forced to live under would have been not only near impossible, but a fate too terrible to fathom. Imagine a perfectly normal young woman of sound mind and full of life, crammed into a small room and kept chained to a bed, forced to sit in her own filth, never seeing the light of day, never seeing another human being except for her darling mother who'd pop in to throw her leftovers, barely enough to keep her body going. It was more than enough to drive anyone mad. After all, the only way out she had left was precisely that, going out of her mind, as there was no other escape from her rancid prison, her sanity slowly and inevitably abandoned after years of indescribable suffering, leaving behind a shell of a woman she once was. As a result of her severe emotional trauma, she suffered from several mental disorders, including anorexia, schizophrenia, exhibitionism, and coprophilia to the very end of her life. Death found her in a psychiatric hospital, to which she was committed after being released from her confinement. She was 64. There was no possibility for a happy ending for Blanche. No fantastic turn of events to her favor. No magic cure for pain. She was robbed of everything. Her life, her beauty, her youth, love, and ultimately, her very mind. And that brings us to the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Subscribe for more videos. Each of your subscriptions does help this channel grow. It allows me to continue making more content for you. Let me know in the comments who you want to see next. I do make a list of suggestions, and I will see you in the next one.